Greetings, Greyhounds, and happy Friday. Welcome to the Ocean Springs Football Coaches Show alongside Coach Blake Pennock. I am Trey, Brennan. Also, a special shout out to all our school district employees. Happy payday to all of you out there. In case you missed it, the Greyhounds traveled to the Kiln last week to face off against the Hancock Hawks. After a slow start in the first half, the Greyhounds poured it on in the second half, winning by a score of 42-7. The Greyhounds now moved to 4-0 on the season. We'll have much more on this game shortly. Now let's take a look at the Week 5 results in Region 4, the first region games of the season. The Admirals traveled to St. Martin and defeated the Yellow Jackets by a score of 21-7. The Red Rebels won in an offensive shootout at Pascagoula by a score of 44-31. And the Biloxi Indians traveled to D'Iberville and defeated the Warriors in a close one, 34-27. The Region 4 road teams won all 4 games in Week 5. Here's how the standings shake out after the first week of 2022 region play. The Greyhounds come in at number 1 with a 4-0 record overall and a 1-0 record in region play. As we look ahead to Week 6, tonight features another jam-packed schedule in Region 4 as the Hawks of Hancock now travel to take on the St. Martin Yellow Jackets at Joe Barlow Stadium. The Pascagoula Panthers will make the trip west to take on the Gulfport Admirals. Biloxi Indians head to play Harrison Central Red Rebels, and of course your Greyhounds return home to Hugh Pepper Field tonight to host the D'Iberville Warriors. All game times are set for a 7:30 p.m. kickoff. Before we preview tonight's matchup against the Warriors at home, let's recap last week, which saw the Greyhounds travel to Hancock to pick up their first region victory of the season with a final score of 42-7. Senior quarterback Bray Hubbard led the Greyhounds with an impressive 234 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns on 24 carries. Running back Will Smith notched another 100-yard game with 14 carries for 106 yards and 2 touchdowns. Defensively, Eric Moore led the team with 11 total tackles, 1 being for a loss and an interception. Senior Will Gray also finished with an interception, returning it 74 yards for a touchdown. Gray also added 7 total tackles, and senior Keyshawn Thomas also added 9 tackles. Kicker Bart Edmonston added 6 more extra points to his season total, going a perfect 6 for 6. SB Live ranks your Greyhounds as number 3 in the state as we head to Week 6. Coach, we had a slow start to the game last week, scoring only 7 points in the first half. We talked about on last week's show you would have to sustain drives because Hancock's defense doesn't let anything behind them. What did you guys change going in halftime to come out in the second half scoring 35 points right off the bat?
Yeah, well, they lined up a little different than they normally do, and probably should have caught a little sooner, but just made some adjustments there. They're sliding it. They're from a 3-down front, sliding into a 4-down front with the way they were playing it, trying to pinch the perimeter in, and we just kind of made a little more. We outweighed them by a good bit up front, so we made a little more north and south type of a run, and were able to get a good surge there. Guys ran hard, continued to do those things. I thought we played a little sloppy up front, guard, center guard there in the first half, and we cleaned those things up and got some good double teams. That way you're able to see us get to the second level, and then once we get to the second level, our ball carriers can roll pretty good.
So last week we also talked about the Hancock Hawks rushing attack. They had great success so far this year on the ground. You were able to hold them to only 86 yards rushing. What did the defense do right? What was going well for them last week?
Just continue to dominate the line of scrimmage. I thought we did a pretty good job. They do a lot of those counters and a lot of those wingbacks coming back through. Did a good job. I talked about last week of not being out leveraged, right, and in the game and by formation and alignment. And so we did a really good job keeping that. The one thing that you want to try to do as much of, and we had 3 and outs through 9 possessions. We didn't want them to sustain drives, and I thought we did a really good job of that, especially, in the second half to allow us to get that big lead. We separated big time in the third quarter. And then, obviously in the first half was really big for us while the offense was kind of getting their whereabouts together with JP going down. The defense allowed us to be able to stay in the game and get everything right going.
You just mentioned about JP. We saw him leave the game early, very early, with an apparent injury. Those are some big shoes to fill, both on the offense and in special teams. How did you adjust losing a guy like him that's so involved in the offense and special teams?
Just had to move some guys around. It was a shock. Obviously he didn't play a single snap on offense, so just kind of not having, JP being such a big part of it is an issue, and we could have made it done. But also Bryson Smith was out too with an injury, so when you put both of those guys, two of our main playmakers, out in the same game, you kind of have to readjust a little bit. But we had some guys step up, some guys getting their first action, in the game. Went a little more 11 personnel than we normally do at this time. And so Asher Fazer really played well, did a good job in the game. And then you start asking our guys, Bray has to step up right there, and Will Smith has to step up and continue to do those things and run the ball. So we asked at halftime, we asked our offensive line, hey, look, we're going to put this thing on your shoulders, and they responded in a good way.
We noticed a few times we had some new people returning punts with JP out, like Bray and Will Berglund. It's pretty interesting to put quarterbacks in there. What is it about them that makes them lethal in special teams like that?
Yeah. And Will Berglund called a kickoff, back, but then we had Bray back there, and Bray's really one job was to just fair catch it, and he didn't do that, and so he got taken out, and Will Gray went back there to catch punts. This is different. Like I said, JP is our main punt returner, and Bryson Smith is our backup punt returner. And so with both of those guys out, we kind of have to shuffle some things. And catching a punt like that, you got to make sure you can trust the person to actually catch it. It can be a big momentum swing, and sometimes those are difficult to catch. And so had to get some guys back there with some sure hands, and then obviously – just trying to get through the game on that aspect of it and regroup in the week.
So you're telling me when Bray went out there, he was supposed to just fair catch it, get off the field,
put his hand up. We'd gone
no
through
contact.
We'd gone through that during the week with Bryson out, just in case JP. It's like a baseball. You stick a right fielder out there that hasn't ever played. I promise you, the first ball is going to get hit right to him. If you have an issue somewhere, in an injury or personnel standpoint, that will rear its ugly head in the game, and it did. But we covered ourselves a little bit during the week of practice. Just Bray thought he could take it to the house and got nothing. So, just on to the next one.
That's awesome. We're going to take a quick break, come back, and prepare for the Warriors, break down that matchup. You're watching the Ocean Springs Football Coaches Show. Welcome back to the Ocean Springs Football Coaches Show alongside Coach Pennock. I am Trey, Brennan. As we mentioned in the last segment, the Warriors traveled to Biloxi last week to take on the Indians and fell to them by a score of 34-27. The Warriors fall to 1-4 on the year and 0-1 in region play. It is important to note that 3 of D'Iberville's losses this season have been by a touchdown or less, with 2 of those losses coming by only 1 point. Their opponents this year have a combined record of 16-9, and they are a very young team. Coach, while on paper D'Iberville looks to be having a down year, they have lost a lot of close games and obviously can't be taken lightly. What are you and your guys expecting out of them tonight, and what are some ways this week that you kept us from overlooking them and kept the team concentrated on the opponent?
Well, it's pretty easy. D'Iberville has a name and it has a cachet to it, and they've won a lot of ball games in the last several years, and so those guys are still used to winning. It's an unbelievable stat. I heard their coach say back this summer that they were replacing 21 of 22 starters. That's unbelievable. I've never seen something like that. So they're a young team, but that's the biggest part is those guys have improvement to make, and they're going to make it. And I know their record says 1-4, but like you just said, with the close games and the close losses, that record could easily be flipped. And they could be 4-1. So. They're a football team that definitely has capability. They're going to be well coached. They're going to be tough and hard nosed. So we gotta understand that they're going to be coming with their backs against the wall. That's a proud program, and their coach does a really good job. That's a D'Iberville guy, and so I know that their success means a lot to him. So they're going to have their backs against the wall to come out and fight against us tonight. We got to be prepared for it. Our guys they understand the calls. They understand. We didn't love, especially offensively, didn't love the way we came out and played sloppy. Wasn't special teams wise, wasn't exactly what we wanted early in the game. Defensively, and those guys, I've never seen a defense so upset. Last Friday, they gave up that late touchdown. They want goose eggs, and so our guys are motivated from that standpoint as well, just to play really good football, and as much as was eager for them to do.
Like you mentioned, the Warriors are going to have their backs up against the wall. They've lost 4 in a row. They're going to be hungry and lost 4 pretty close games. They've had a pretty tough schedule this far. What can we expect to see from the Warriors on offense, and what are some ways that our defense can keep them out of the end zone?
It's going to be very similar to what we just saw against Hancock. All right, a lot of single wing, double wing. They're going to try to run the football, but you will see them getting the shotgun a little bit and throw it around some. And so it's a mixed bag, but it's going to be very similar to what you saw against Hancock. We got to do a really good job on the defensive front. We got to do a really good job on the edges with their tackles and tight ends. to make sure that we help and we destroy that part of the line of scrimmage. They like to do a lot of those things off tackle. We got to do a really good job in the middle. Our linebackers have to do a really good job of reading their guards, reading their keys, and making sure that we see where the ball is going. And then once you get there, make tackles. All right. And so I told you last week that our secondary has to be well trained. They have to be really good on their keys to make the tackles and make the plays. I thought we did a really good job of that with Will Gray making so many tackles and different things. So it's going to be another steady diet of that this week.
So switching sides of the ball to the offense, last week the Greyhounds we mentioned came out slow in the first half, although they had a lot of really big plays in the first half, including a long touchdown pass that ended up getting called back with a penalty. What are some ways that we can look to attack tonight to come out strong and kind of set the tone early?
Well, they're a young team, like I said, and so they're going to be young in the secondary, but they do have some speed, some length. But we got to do a really good job of our guys challenging those things, creating space, creating open opportunities, and Bray's got to pull the trigger when we see it. And so we want to run the ball, obviously. So we're really challenging our offensive line to step up in the game. We got to continue to feed the rock to Will Smith, and he's got to have a great night. For us to be able to challenge and get into some more 11 personnel things, maybe because of some of our personnel deals on a wide receiver, hoping for JP and Bryson to come back tonight and play. So it's going to be a good night, hopefully, but we got to do some things right there to attack some of those personnel things that they have as far as their youth and talent.
So we're going to take a quick break, come back and wrap things up and talk about tonight's game. You're watching the Ocean Springs Football Coaches Show. Welcome back to the Ocean Springs Football Coaches Show alongside Coach Blake Pennock. I am Trey, Brennan. The Greyhounds are back home tonight in front of their home fans, 7:30 p.m. kickoff at Hugh Pepper Field. The weather is going to be beautiful. It's going to be a big-time matchup against the D'Iberville Warriors from right down the road. You're not going to want to miss this one, folks. Be out and be proud. It's going to be a party at the Pep. Coach, the Greyhounds are coming back with a 4-0 record, got their first victory under their belt in region play. What can we expect from the Greyhounds tonight as they return to play in front of their home fans?
And just a lot of excitement. I can promise you this. It feels like we've been on the road, most of this season so far, but we're starting to about to get a run of some home games here and getting back into the Pep, and really excited about that. Our guys are going to be juiced, they're going to be jacked up, but we're going to look for some explosion. We want to see some guys making some great plays on defense, hit some hard hits, playing for a physical matchup, and then offensively continue to really push the tempo. I don't want anybody, going to get popcorn or looking down at their phone between plays, because you're going to miss something. But, really excited about our guys getting a chance. I'm excited about some new guys getting in there on offense to try to see if we can develop some more playmakers right there. I think we have some guys that are going to be chomping at the bit, ready to go. And then continue to see our offensive line progress, and then defensively continue to see how good can we get, as we're going through. I know they're hunting goose eggs and they're chasing those zeros, but it's playing a 4-quarter football game and not having that lapse in judgment like we had that led to, the 88-yard play, which almost doubled at that point Hancock's total offensive output.
Right.
So really staying honed in and doing those things and making sure that we're playing really good Greyhound football, and that's kind of the key, because this thing's going to be a marathon, and we're hoping to be playing in late November, early December. So we got to continue to put stack good games against it.
I was no math major, obviously, studying public relations, but by my count, the Greyhounds have traveled for 11 hours on the road to football games this season through only 3 games. We're back at home. This one's a short, 3.5-minute walk across the field to the other side. Coach, so the game day drip each week, our football team, the uniform combination, what goes into picking our game day drip, and are there any superstitions related to our uniform combo, like, we only wear this at this time and things like that?
No, well, I pick that. I pick it. I actually do it way ahead of time. I go through our entire regular season schedule, and I pick all of it. I try to knock out everything one time. And so every combination, we have quite a few uniform combinations with the different helmets and everything else. And so I do that like in June or July, and go through that to map it out and have it taped up on on my bulletin board in my office to make sure that I remember what we're wearing. And A lot of it depends on the opponent, and I want to make sure I hit everything. So like our first game, I wanted to hit the jump man because I'm going to want to hit it later in the season too.
Right.
So I want to go ahead and get that out of the way. And, then I like to wear our classic, at homecoming. I like to wear our gray at homecoming. And then, it has to be a really big road game because I know our players really get jacked up for the all white. And so that'll come out at some point this season, and I want to make sure this the right time to hit those on the road, and then all the other stuff, and then everything else I just try to fill it in as we go.
So, do you have a favorite? Like, what is your preferred?
My favorite set, I love the Jumpman. The Jumpman looks really, really fresh, but I do like our white, blue, white. I really, really like that set, and then I also. I like the white, gray on the road, which is why we wore it at Clinton. Mm-hmm. That's one of my favorite sets too. So it's going to be exciting. I wonder what we wear tonight.
Do we have? Did you forget since you made it in July what we got tonight?
Yeah, I send the text out to Hunter Jones, and he puts that out there for me. And after that, I don't think about it.
There you go. Could we see some blue pants in the future? You're not ruling anything out?
Man, I'm not ruling anything out. We always look fresh. The one thing a wise coach always told me is never have more uniform combinations than you have wins. And so you start stacking them uniforms.
Absolutely.
We got to really really keep going with these wins. So we like our uniforms. We want to look good, obviously, and I think we do. And we like putting more things in our repertoire for it.
Absolutely. Look good, play good. That's the saying. Coach, that's going to do it for us. Make sure you join us tonight in attendance so we can see what the Greyhounds are going to come out wearing. Also, we can see how they perform in front of their home fans. They're back at home 7:30 p.m. against the D'Iberville Warriors, and you're not going to want to miss it. That's going to do it for us for the Ocean Springs Football Coaches Show. Have a great weekend, everybody.